Hey, Campers Inn team, it's March 2024, and this is going to be the monthly message. I know I missed January and February. There's been a ton going on, so I'm going to kind of recap what the last few months have looked like, talk about where we're at, and then talk about what kind of situation, what we need, and that sort of thing. So let's jump right in. So as we know, we're coming out of show season, which is probably the big reason why I haven't done any of these. It's been like lightning fast this last few months. It just felt like it flew by. And what we're seeing is at the shows we saw traffic count was plus or minus a little bit at most of the shows, but for us as a company, show season was really good. We actually, most of our shows that we went to, we were up year over year in sales, and most of our competitors were not. And how did we do that? Quite frankly, it was our sales teams just executing, and we had better preparation. We made sure every show was manned really well. We made sure that we had a lot of support on the management side and on the sales side. And management includes, closers, deal deskers, F&I, directors, and we just really focused on it and outperformed. So congratulations to the sales team on a really successful show season. I know there's a couple more to go, but for the large part, we are through most of our shows, and we've done a really good job. What we saw on the lots was a little bit different. So lot traffic was down for most of our stores year over year, a little bit more in January, a little bit less in February. Who knows how March will end up because we're only halfway through. And from talking to other dealers, a lot of dealers saw very similar trends in January and February. We did see the market share results, and sales were down depending on category, but roughly, I think it was like 19 point something percent. So let's call it 20% in January. We weren't down nearly that much. So we were down single digits in January, and so we saw some market share growth then, which is good. So what it means is we performed well at the shows. Our teams did a good job getting customers in the door. When we looked at our marketing and our foot traffic, it was actually down less than what the industry saw as a whole. And yeah, there's pockets of differences, right? So some different regions had some different results. But on the whole, we can kind of say that it went pretty good there for show season. When we looked at our other departments, so we had some, and I'm going to get a little more into sales here in a bit, but when we looked at our other departments, F&I had like a really great January, right? So far, it's a good start to the year. Services beat the budget 2 months in a row. Parts is ahead on the available income. So what we're seeing on the sales side, though, is we came really close, like almost 100% of target. So we set different targets and budget. So those that don't know, we had a budget number, which is kind of like a financial stability number, right? And then we had our target number. And in both January and February, our sales teams came very close to the target numbers in units, but the available income, the gross, the margin, wasn't there. Very competitive environment. So what we saw was we significantly missed the available income numbers in sales and then made up some of that in finance, service, and parts. Most of you that have been in this industry know we're not like the auto business where we can sell our way to service to pay all the bills. Because of a whole host of reasons, and it's probably meant for another call or another one of these messages, our industry is very sales reliant. We rely on the sales department to drive a huge portion of the available income or gross dollars that we get into the dealership. And so because those margins are really tight because of competitive pressures, a lot of competitive dealers liquidating inventory still, a lot of competitive dealers not in a good inventory position, we're seeing immense pressure on that front end of the margin. But here's the good news on this, right? So January was very low. Then February was low but slightly higher. And so far what we're seeing in March is actually even higher margins on that side. So it seems to be progressing below what honestly is necessary for the industry to be healthy, but it does seem to be ticking up slowly over time. So with that being said, on the sales team, what are the focus areas? And we talked about this on one of our Friday calls. And on that Friday call, we said, look, the focus still needs to be inventory management is number one. We have to focus on making sure that our inventory is, yes, frontline ready, not aged, all that, but also the right floor plans. So we've changed some of our inventory mix to make sure we go to key items, and that's for all the stores. And that's so we have a great pipeline coming in of key items all the time. And what that'll do is yeah, we understand that probably means you may run out of some of your number 3, 4, 5, 6 bestsellers of not bestsellers, 3, 4, 5, 6 good floor plans, but your top floor plans we're going to keep in stock all the time. So inventory management, we've got to make sure that we continue to watch inventory, because if we're honest with ourselves, a lot of our competitors have not done a good job on the inventory side, and there's going to be competitive pressure there. So keeping the inventory fresh and keeping it turning is going to be incredibly important for us. So that's for the sales department, that's focus number one. Number two is making money and margin where we can, right? So you get that good used piece in, we should be able to make a good margin on it. You get that that fresh 24 in that is a hot selling floor plan that isn't one of like the, comes to mind, it's like a Springdale Classic. It's not like a price leader, right? We should be able to make a fair profit on that, right? And I'm not saying like every single one has to be a home run, but we need to make a fair profit where we can. And then third is market share. So you hear me talk about market share a lot, and why is it number three is because the first two right now are more important to us. And these will shift over time, but overall, we got to make sure our inventory is right. We got to make sure that we're ringing the cash register where we can. And like I said, service, parts, and F&I are doing good too. But because it's a sales-driven industry, we just can't make up for it in volume, right? It's just, we're not that industry. We're not the auto business. And so we have to continue to focus on that order of it for the sales department. Then for all the departments, one of the asks I have is that because it is a tight environment, right? So this is me being very transparent to you. Because we are so reliant on the sales department driving a huge portion of the available income in our business, because that's just the business that we're in, and that's how the industry works. We have to be really careful until the volume and the margins somewhat normalize, which they are heading that way. We have to make sure that we're incredibly expense conscious. So one of the asks that we've been talking about from the leadership team, and what I'm putting out to everybody is, want your help watching the expenses, right? So everything, the small things like the office supplies and making sure that we're buying the more cost-conscious things, policy work, right? Like the money that we burn in policy work, right? Like making sure we're watching that and we're trying to minimize that as much as possible. Projects, you probably noticed during COVID, we did so many real estate and other projects, and we kind of pulled maintenance from the future into the present, right? Basically said, let's get ahead of it. Well, in this sort of environment, we do the opposite. So what we do is if there's a big maintenance project, what we do is we do a temporary fix that kind of kicks the can a little bit. This is a hugely cyclical business. So because of that, because of those ups and downs, we control our expenses based on it. So on the advertising and marketing side, I'm going to come back to that because there is a piece of it. But what you can help out in knowing is that we're going to spend the money on the areas that we know get the results on advertising. But I'm going to talk about some of the things we're doing there, which is like really cool stuff on the advertising marketing side. And then on the personnel side, what we can do is we have to understand that we're not going to have as many people as we did during the height of COVID because there's just not as much business out there, right? So we're selling, I think the industry is at roughly half of the volume approximately of what it was during COVID, right? So we're going to be running a little bit leaner and asking our teams to help out. And that also allows us to keep the best performers busy, right? Because if you flood, whether it's a shop or floor, salespeople or whatever, we want everybody to have fair opportunities. So kind of coming back to that advertising side, there is some really cool stuff that we're doing. So months ago, I think this started, let's call it September, October last year. We hired some consultants who Jeff and I really trust to come into the business, look under the hood of advertising, and just give us recommendations from outside the RV industry. So anybody that's been in this industry for a while knows that there's not a lot of true experts in marketing and advertising inside the industry. So what did we ask them to do? We said, hey, look at how we do the calendar. Hey, look at how we do our planning. Look at how we do the different types of advertising. And they looked at everything. So a lot of you on the management team know we have this long calendar now for marketing, which is really cool. Allows us to get ahead on planning. It's awesome. We looked at the digital advertising. We've actually handed off some of our digital to a third-party agency that's not even based in the U.S., which is kind of cool because we picked a best-in-class agency. They started taking over in February, call it mid-February, and we're already seeing some cost savings where we can actually put money in other areas. So we're going to be adjusting that with them. So we're starting to see that go well. And then the marketing team's been working on some really cool branding stuff. And I can't wait till some of that branding pieces come out to you, because some of you, weren't huge fans of the dinosaurs and other stuff we did last year. Well, we needed that last year. We needed the excitement and the thrill and everything. But obviously the lifestyle branding and really kind of the creating the emotional depth with the customer is something that we've been all about. And there's some really cool stuff that we have on the horizon there on the advertising side that should still be able to be impact advertising, right? But also create some of those emotional pieces to it. So I'm really excited about where that's going. And now we're enacting a lot of the marketing team is taking the ball and running with it and enacting a lot of the stuff that these consultants have been working with us on. So where I'm excited is that we haven't really seen the fruits of those labors yet, and now we're going to start seeing the fruits of those labors because there's so much that they've been working on behind the scenes to get ahead, to plan better, to measure the campaigns better, to outsource some pieces so that we can get some efficiencies. And then we're developing some really cool technology, and I can't actually talk about it. I actually am dying to talk about this with everybody, but I can't talk about it. But there's some technology that we'll be launching trial versions on in May and then launching live versions in June or July that should really help us with our lead management and just setting more appointments for the stores. So that'll be helping kind of that funnel. So there's a lot of really, really cool stuff coming. So I already know I'm 12 minutes in. I'm taking a while, but I've got a bunch more to go through. So I'm going to try to speed this up. So the good news, here's the good news that we see happening. We've got a lot of cool stuff in the works. We see the market getting a little bit better at a time each month. Not where it needs to be yet, but we do see margins and volume kind of stabilizing. So it does feel like if we're not at a bottom, we're close to it, right? There seems to be, like, we're keeping our inventory tight. So that goal number one I set for the sales, we are keeping our inventory tight so that we can get rid of the aged and we can get the right floor plans in. And there's a whole balance that we have that we're doing. So overall, how was January and February for us? We slightly beat the budget in a lot of financial metrics in January and February. We almost hit our sales targets, but like I said, the margins weren't there. So we missed the gross, but we actually beat the unit count, so it helped. And then when looking backwards to fourth quarter, because public companies announce, like Camping World and Lazy Days, they announce their quarterly results for last quarter in late February and March. When we look back at that, we outperformed our public company competitors in the fourth quarter. So overall, Campers Inn is doing well in the market. It's just a tough market. So if we're honest with ourselves, we have to recognize that, yes, we're doing well and we're still winning, and that's kind of the message, but it's a tough market, and just because we're winning doesn't mean we can't take the pedal, or we can take the pedal off the gas. We cannot. We have to make sure we keep on working and pushing forward. So where's the help? So I've kind of had a couple pieces just laying the groundwork on what's going on, because there's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot that we have that we're building towards. There's a lot of things that we're doing well, but where does Ben want your help from the team? Well, one is continue to do what you've been doing, which is teamwork, one of our core values, and to maximize sales and revenue opportunities. So that could be in any department, right? So if I don't know, I'm going to make something off the top of my head. If you're a service advisor and you have a customer that has this huge repair order on a unit that maybe is 3-4 years old, and we're going to maybe that's an opportunity for them to trade in, and we get the work anyway because we're going to do it as reconditioning, right? So it's not like we're giving up the work. So maybe there's an opportunity to say, hey, we have a trade in, trade up campaign. Have you thought about talking to a salesperson? Just something like that. Or maybe there's an opportunity where I don't know, a customer's talking to a salesperson. They're talking about slide toppers that they want on it, making sure that the salesperson talks to the parts people so that we can get that upsell opportunity. In an environment like this, we need to work together to maximize the different sales and revenue opportunities. That's one. So the second one is controlling expenses, right? I'm kind of bringing the themes back. So controlling expenses. If you see things that are going to cause lot damage or policy work, say something about it. Please say something about it, because the more we can control those things, the better off we do as a company. The more we can invest in our future, in training and in education and in our people. And when we needlessly waste money, it makes it much more difficult in an environment like this to justify some of those spends. So really, if you see waste, if you see things that could be done less expensively, say something or ask for help. Bring it up to your manager. It's super important that we row in the same direction here on the expense side, just like we do on the revenue side. And I'll give an example. So here in the office, in the headquarters, Karen had mentioned we have a cleaning company that comes in, and she said, hey, maybe we can, because she hears me talk about this stuff. She's like, maybe we can reduce some of the spend by adjusting the contract. Do you want me to reach out to him? I said, yeah. So she actually reached out to him, negotiated, saved us some money on a monthly basis with our cleaning contract by adjusting some of the things that they were doing, just because she knew that, hey, we're trying to save some pennies where we can, and those pennies add up. So if you see something like that, just reach out to your manager. Say, hey, I got an idea. Maybe I can help out here. And then the number 3 thing. So once again, revenue opportunities, expenses. This isn't the time to buck our best practices, our processes. So I think it was February. We had some of the new management here in Jacksonville. We were going through our best practices and our processes, and it was actually a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I hope they did too. And we'll continue to have those sorts of training. But some of the things that I hear that are very frustrating when either I travel to a store or one of our directors goes to a store is comments like, well, we just do it different in this store. And sometimes it's because of regionality. Like they say, well, it's just different. Our customers are different in this area, which is why we don't want to sit them down and do the interview or something, right? Or, well, we operate under the Dillon's flag or the little dealer flag. The reality is Campers Inn's Campers Inn. We're all part of Campers Inn. We all are either a branded Campers Inn store or a Campers Inn company. And the regionality doesn't make that much of a difference. We oftentimes find that when we implement our best practice, not often, we always find when we implement our best practices, regardless of regionality, regardless of the flag that's flying on the building, our dealerships improve. So my third ask is stop bucking the process. And what I mean by that is you need to be service teams, the daily whip meeting. Some of you have said, well, we just don't do it. Yeah, you do, right? Sales teams, daily sales training, the daily black box meeting, the manager meetings that have to be happening between all the managers on a weekly basis. Our sales process is for the benefit of the customer. We sit them down before going out to the lot because it benefits them. We don't do a show and tell. So I had some other. I got sidetracked. Our lead management. Sorry. So our lead management, right? So one of the things that I read the other day, and it's a misunderstanding from this particular sales force, was they said, well, I want to be able to work whichever leads I feel like and not have to work some of the other leads. That's not exactly how they said it, but that's pretty much the message. And where my head went was, you're not understanding the funnel, right? The sales funnel is you're going to get leads that are high end of the funnel that you have to work for a while, right? And eventually they'll turn into a sale. And then there's other leads that are going to be really down towards the bottom of the funnel, which is almost more like an order taker at that point. And it's not a bad thing. It's just you end up being an order taker. Whereas the top, you are almost like an enthusiast of the industry, really trying to paint that picture of where it can go. And then there's everything in between. So don't buck the process on working the leads. Yeah, you got to work the ones that are going to be 2% converters. And then you're going to work the ones down here that are going to be 20% converters into sales. And you got to work everything in between. And so our processes are the same across every single store in the company, or at least they should be. And the only people that have the authority to change that are the actual base practice processes is really, those come through myself or Jeff ultimately to change those. And then we implement through directors, VPs, that sort of thing. So when I'm coming around to the stores, when I ask the sales director, service directors, finance directors to go around to the stores and they're implementing best practices, know that is for all of our best interest and on all of our behalf, and know there's no exceptions to it. We need to get those things in place. No, we don't do it differently. We have 18 states and I think it's like 7 regions that we have, like pockets of the country, and we fly under 4 flags, right? But ultimately, none of that matters. We do things the same, and this message is meant for all the teammates, and it's the same. And I am asking the people that feel like you're truly different, if you truly feel that way, give me a phone call, because we need to have a different conversation. So, 3 asks, right? Teamwork to make sure we're driving as much available income and revenue as possible. 2, it's a tough environment still. We see it improving. We actually think we're close, if not at the bottom, but I need your help controlling the expenses. If you see expenses that can be controlled, just help us out. It helps more than you know when we are investing in all the training that we send people to and everything else like that, when we control some of the waste. And just helps us be a more sustainable business, right? Fourth core value. And then 3, this is not the time to be bucking the trends and pretending that we're, Joe's RV or Bob's RV or whatever, doing things different in our area. We all do things the same. We're all campers in. And then the last thing is, and this isn't one of the things I need help on, is if we do these things, we're going to continue to win. We have been doing really well versus the market, versus our competitors, both on a same-store sales basis, both service year over year, on the bottom line. Like, we've been doing better than our competition. It's not the time to take the foot off the gas. We're going to continue to win together because we are one team. Because of you guys. Because everybody here that listens to this is doing a fantastic job. We are getting through this thing together, and I appreciate you. But we're not going to take that foot off the gas. We're going to keep on driving this, and we're going to keep on winning in this market. So I know this is a super long message, but this is like 2 months worth of stuff. I'm excited to see how March finishes out. We need to stay optimistic and positive and know we're doing well. But yes, we have some things that we have to grind at and work on within our stores. So I appreciate y'all. Feel free to reach out if you need anything, and let's finish up March really strong.